What's up, Dolphin Nation? What's up, PhinsTalk family? What's up, NFL fans? In today's video, we're going to cover a question that was brought up when I read this article, and I do agree with Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel. I believe the Dolphins should continue to invest in the trenches, defensive line and offensive line. He's saying defensive line, offense wins games, defense wins championships. And this article was written by Chris Perkins on February 11th, 2026. Let's see what he had to say, and then I'll give you my final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. But I do agree with him. Offense wins games, defense wins championships, and the last 3 NFL champions have been led by the defense, especially the last 2. Because we can't consider the quarterbacks stellar quarterbacks. They had stellar receivers, but they weren't top-tier quarterbacks. The golden rule for the Miami Dolphins regarding last year's draft class is simply don't assume improvement, especially on the defensive line. We'll see whether this new regime of General Manager John Eric Sullivan and Coach Jeff Hafley adhere to the tenet as they build their team during the offseason. In my interview with Sullivan and Hafley, should be willing to redraft. In my view, Sullivan and Hafley should be willing to redraft any position taken in last year's draft. In this year's first 3 rounds, defensive tackle, guard, cornerback, safety, and quarterback, except running back. The thinking is twofold. You can't have too much talent at most of these positions, and you don't have nearly enough talent at any of those positions. The Dolphins had a decent, although not necessarily strong, 2025 draft class, despite the fact all 7 draftees got playing time last season, and 5 made at least 1 start. None of those rookies seem on a path toward stardom or even a Pro Bowl. In light of that, my main target for the offseason improvement would be the defensive line. It's a talented, star, game-changing area. The defensive line, and I'm counting edge rushers in that group, might have been the most disappointing unit on last year's team after quarterback. I fully realize that the past 2 years the Dolphins have used 4 draft picks on the defensive line, including 2 first-rounders with edge rusher Chop Robinson, the 2024 first-round pick, and tackle Kenneth Grant, the 2025 first-round pick, and also including tackles Jordan Phillip, 5th round, 2025, and Zeke Biggers, 7th round, 2025. None is good enough. In addition, defensive tackle Zach Sieler was awarded a 3-year, $64 million contract extension in August. He wasn't good enough last season. He'll be 31 years old next season. Worse, the Dolphins' defensive line enters the offseason as a major concern. But all that happened under the old regime. You'd like to think the new regime will do a better job of selecting talent at the same position. Perhaps, for example, Sullivan and Hafley would have drafted Pittsburgh defensive tackle Derek Harmon instead of Grant. You get the idea? We've seen the rising importance of defense the past 2 years with the Seattle Seahawks and Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowls with defensive-minded teams. Here's something else to consider. Both Super Bowl runner-ups the past 2 years, the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles, were led by defense too. It's true. Pay attention. Get past the marketing quarterback talk that dominates TV, radio, and podcasts. No blame here. Fans generally don't want to hear about gap responsibility or wide 9. What we've seen recently in the NFL is that you can win a Super Bowl whether or not you have a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. Defense, especially when led by the line, is a good way to win. I've been pushing this for years. Seattle was number 6 defense last season with 285.6 yards allowed per game, and New England was number 8 with 295.2 yards per game. The Seahawks were number 1 in scoring defense with 17.2 points allowed per game, while the Patriots were number 4 with 18.8 points per game on defense, allowed per game on defense. In 2024, Philadelphia was the number 1 defense with 278.4 yards per game, while the Kansas City Chiefs were number 9 with 320.6 yards per game. The Eagles were number 2 in scoring defense, 17.8 points per game, and the Chiefs were number 4 at 19.2 points per game. One more. In 2023, the season in which the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl, Kansas City was number 2 in defense at 289.8 yards per game, and San Francisco was number 8 at 303.9 yards per game. The Chiefs were number 2 in scoring defense at 17.3 points per game, and San Francisco was number 4 at 17.5 points per game. Put another way, in each of the past 3 Super Bowls, in each of the past 3 years, the Super Bowl winner was the team with the better defense. And much of the dirty work for the defense started up front with the defensive lines. So circling back to the Dolphins, a team that doesn't have a franchise quarterback, I like to see an emphasis on defense. This offseason, and especially the defensive line. The Dolphins need better run stuffers in the middle and a strong pass rush threat from the middle. Yes, I know Sieler had 10 sacks in 2023 and 2024, and a much better pass rush from the edge. Robinson, last year's first-round pick, doesn't offer a reason to think he'll be a pass rushing threat from the edge in 2026. After posting only a total of 10 sacks his first 2 seasons, fellow edge rusher Bradley Chubb could be a cost-cutting casualty, considering he'll count $31 million against the salary cap next season. That's nothing else of note at that position. It's in dire need. The sad thing is the Dolphins, in a wise effort to build trenches during the past 2 years, have used lots of draft capital. Left tackle Patrick Paul was a 2024 second-round pick, and left guard Jonas Amayana was a 2025 second-round pick in that area. However, Paul is the only impactful trench player to show for those two second-round picks that showed the Dolphins had a rightful way of thinking. In April's draft, I wonder. I wouldn't be mad if the Dolphins used a first-round pick on a cornerback or any non-defensive line player. But the second and third rounds, they need to get defensive line help, possibly at both tackle and edge rusher. There you guys have it. I do agree with Chris Perkins. The trenches should be the key. If they draft a corner or safety with the first pick at 11, then we should see mostly defensive and offensive line the remaining picks, in my opinion. And maybe one quarterback, which I expect John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley to draft a quarterback in every draft. I'm not saying a round 1 quarterback, but to draft a quarterback in every draft. That's part of the Green Bay philosophy, and that's what I would expect. But I expect the trenches to be a strong philosophy of theirs, not only this year, but as they build their type of team that they want to build a consistent winner in Miami, like John Eric Sullivan has said in an interview, and Jeff Hafley has said that before, that winners are built through the trenches. Let me know what you think. Do you think they're going to go defensive tackle after their first pick, or do you think they'll go defensive tackle and offensive tackle throughout the draft, including their first pick? And let me know if you agree with myself and Chris Perkins. Leave me your thoughts in the comments, and like always, I appreciate your support. Like always, stay positive, stay on your grind, and go Dolphins.